Hi, Kevin.
Hi, it's so nice to
So
see
good to
you.
see you.
How's it going? How have you been?
It's
It's
fine.
like 5 years now.
We are all trapped in our homes.
Yes, definitely. But it's definitely like been such a good time to like reflect and reconsider things that we have been like blessed and um,
Correct.
have
Yeah,
the privilege
we
to
are
be.
blessed
And
actually compared to many out there.
yeah, definitely. But it's so
So
exciting to see you after
yeah, so
so long.
nice for you to give us some time to connect on
No,
this
definitely.
platform.
It's such a pleasure. It's a pleasure connecting with you, and you've been like such a important part of my engineering career.
Yeah, this the
So
scary part.
anything that I could, the scary part. Um, but yeah, but the helpful part, all the good and the bad that has helped me get to where I am today. So
Yeah,
thank you for that, and thank you for giving me this opportunity.
most welcome.
Yeah.
So let's start off, Kevin. Tell us a little bit about yourself first.
Okay.
Where are you right
So
now? What's happening?
definitely. I got my engineering degree in electronics and telecommunications from Mumbai University, from XIE, where you were a professor, and fun times. And then I came to the United States and I got my master's in telecommunications from George Mason University, which is in Virginia. Um, and then luck and destiny worked out in such a way that I had the opportunity to realize my true passion for education, and I made that switch from engineering into education. So now I work for a private school, middle and high school, and what one would consider the dean of student life is my position. Not exactly the same title, but that is what most people would understand it as.
Excellent. I'm so proud. I still remember you taking that award, that confidence. You remember?
Yeah, I
You
do. It
took
was
the
like personal.
title. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. But here
Yeah.
I am. So I live in Virginia, 7 miles from DC is where I live, and basically I work with students who, the model is such that we take in students who did not survive the typical traditional public school model.
Okay.
So it's a fun job, it's a fun gig, and I really love what I do. So as an educator, I really, really appreciate everything that you do for your
Yeah.
students.
Thank you. So that's a
Yeah,
great start there, Kevin. So, Kevin, we have a few questions for you today.
absolutely. Yeah.
So we just want to know, like now for the upcoming students who are planning to go abroad and they want to pursue their masters. So when is a good time for them? Like how do they do the planning?
Mhm. So I think just to put it into perspective, what I need students who are, especially in the Indian education system, to understand is that they get a very short summer as compared to what students in the United States get during their bachelor's. And that short summer means they do not get that many internship opportunities that American students who do their undergrad in the United States get.
Okay.
And that's why it is very important to realize that you do not have the work experience in the field that you're studying. So a really good time for Indian students to start planning to go abroad would be after they have gathered at least a year or two of work experience after they get their bachelor's degree.
Okay.
So,
So
get
you
4 years of
recommend working
education.
after the bachelor's degree? Okay.
Absolutely. I think it is really important because when you do come here, you are competing not just with other Indian students, but also with American students who
Right.
have work experience, who have worked part-time jobs while going to college, who have done internships, and you
Right.
don't have that. So when an employer wants to hire you, you're probably at the bottom of the food chain and they're not going to pick you. So it
Okay.
is very necessary to spend a year or two, just kind of realizing what you like, enjoying it, and that also gives you enough time to understand whether you truly want to go abroad and
Right.
study this more. So I think 2 years is a good work experience gap that one could take. And you can always start prepping around, your third year or fourth year of engineering because your GRE scores are valid for 5 years.
Right.
So that you can start planning and prepping, but go after 2 years at least
Okay.
minimum.
So that's a good thing. Like, in fact, nowadays they've started internships in colleges, but this is a very good point, right? That they need to be a little bit prepared before they go, right? Not right
Absolutely.
away after engineering.
Definitely, definitely. It's also like I know a lot of internship opportunities have, come across, been awarded to students in India now, but it's still like not every student gets it. Not every student can afford to do it sometimes because
Uh-huh.
probably after college they have to rush to do something else and they have to
Correct.
go take care of their parents or something like that because they come from all different kinds of classes.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so it is just a good thing to do to get proper 2 years of work experience before they come.
That's a good one. Thank you there, Kevin.
Okay.
So, Kevin, we have one question for you. I mean, it's always a question like, how does the student select his or her university post the
Mhm.
bachelor's program? I mean, is
Okay.
it like just the internships that you were talking about, or is it the score? I mean, what is that factor? What counselors don't tell you. I mean,
Okay.
they give you a set of universities and they say send, to these particular universities. So,
Yeah.
is it the right method, to do?
hmm that's actually a very good question because that determines the rest of your future in the United States.
Right.
So your engineering scores are super important. Your GRE and TOEFL scores are also important, again, based on the university that you're applying to. But oftentimes Indian students are drawn, and I know that is the trend in India, but oftentimes Indian students are drawn to big names and big cities and big
Correct.
universities because they have this thought process that if they go to a super big university or a super popular university, then they're going to get a job readily.
Hmm.
And it's going to be easy for them to get into a career of their choice. But that is actually not entirely true. And oftentimes counselors will give you a list of 10 universities and then tell you this is why you should apply here. And they'll like list it in order of preference. But what they don't tell you is they often have tie-ups with those universities. They have connections with those universities. They have promises made with those universities.
They have a
And
deal.
they
Okay.
they kind of have a deal. And there's always that, they will always try to push certain students towards certain universities. Um, and you could go to any counselor and you can collect a pool of the universities that they suggest and you'll see that it's always the same 50 to 80 universities that they you know suggest all the time, which is so far removed because there's so many universities, like especially when you come here you realize there's so many smaller universities that you could have gone to, so many cheaper universities that you could have gone to, because
Okay. So
at the
you
end of
have
the
to
day.
do a lot of homework, is what you're suggesting.
Absolutely. And it's very important to talk to your seniors too, who are already in the United States and ask them about
Right.
their experience at the said university. Because I know I came here and I realized that Virginia in itself has so many universities that I could have gone to. And I went to a really expensive
So
university.
are you open to students asking you, can we get in touch with you later of this
Oh, yeah,
experience?
definitely. Yeah,
Okay. So,
definitely. I'd be more than happy to help and direct students, especially in the field of their choice. So it is very important. And oftentimes, what we fail to recognize is that at the end of your 2.5 years of your master's program, you're going to be at the same level as everybody else. You're going to be in the same pool, and people who are coming to hire you will be picking from that same pool. So what really matters is how you performed instead of where you performed. Um, so it really doesn't matter. The university name, uh, gone are those days when you went to a big university and you had a super successful career guaranteed.
that's a nice one. So that means they should get in touch with their seniors. That is one point we're taking. And the other
Get in
thing is
touch with
they
your
must
seniors.
not fall for just that
Yes,
list that is given to them.
don't fall for the list, and especially don't be captivated by big cities. They're expensive,
Right.
and we can talk more about that too, but they're really expensive, and your lifestyle and your living can get really difficult, especially if you're not used to the cultural differences.
Okay. Yeah, that's an important factor. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Kevin, tell us something about the lifestyle there. Like what should the students going from here consider? Like, is it the food habits, the people?
hmm
Because I think how difficult will be for students to adjust, or to
yeah,
adapt rather to that kind of environment there.
definitely. Culture shock is a huge thing. amongst international students when they come to the United States. Naturally, if you go to a different place where people look different, eat different, behave differently, and have different ideologies or a different way of looking at the same thing, you're going to have a little bit of there's going to be a learning curve involved before you become completely assimilated. And for different people, it's different times. Like some people get assimilated in like a year, some in a month, some it takes 10, 15 years, and they're still not used to it. So there are certain tidbits that I'd like to share about the lifestyle and what students should consider before making the move. Things that they'll have to sacrifice, things they'll have to compromise on, which counselors again do not pay enough attention to. And then a student comes here, is super disappointed, and you have put in all that money, so you're either living very poorly and you're super sad, or you pack up your bags and go back home. And it was a wasted experience. So there's certain things. I like to start with food. Indians love food, and spicy food, delicious food. It's savory, it's tasty. The idea of savory over here is salt and pepper, which is so far removed from how Indians cook their food, right? We have chili, we have turmeric, we have cumin, all of that. You'll have to make compromises on that. You'll have to make adjustments on that, because not only are those spices rarely available, especially the Indian spices that we like to use in our day-to-day cooking, but they're also expensive because they're either imported or, especially if you live around a big university, there'll be like one Indian store, and that dude knows that there's so many Indian students here, so he's going to jack up the prices, and you're going to end up paying more for some of those, spices. And then your parents will send you boxes, and that can always happen. That's a cute thing, receiving care packages from your parents. Like my parents send me spices, chips and churda and papad and all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, it's not going to be wholesome. It's not going to be like home. Also learn cooking. A lot of men especially are notorious for, not knowing how to cook. Their mom did it, their grandmom did it, their sister did it.
Or they just cook Maggi.
Or they'll just cook like Maggi noodles, and you get like those cup ramen noodles, and they'll just microwave it, and they'll do that. And the thing is, if you eat healthy, you're going to be able to study better, concentrate better. You need to eat well. It's just going to be a different kind of eating. It's just going to be a different cuisine, or it's going to be a healthy mix of American and Indian. And you have to be able to, love that and admire that and assimilate that in your already existing diet patterns. So like I was saying, learn cooking, be ready to adjust, be ready to explore, because
vegetarians can survive that?
Definitely, yes. I have, it may not be as easy because, Indian vegetarian food is so far and varied. But you go to the grocery store over here, and the only vegetarian things are like, greens and leafy vegetables. That too, it's just like 2 or 3. It's like kale and lettuce and spinach. There's not a lot of variety. So you'll be limited when it comes to variety. You'll be limited when it comes to the kinds of fruits you eat. But there are vegetarian options. But you might, especially if you're a vegetarian out of religious reasons, you might not eat out of like the same utensil that meat was cooked in. In that regard, restaurants might get tricky for you. But there are Indian restaurants that you could go to, but the food is not going to be the same. It's very Americanized. It is very, very dumbed down version of what we eat. So you'll definitely, food will be tricky to maneuver. I've often seen people come here and get actually like really stressed out about missing their mom's cooking, missing what they ate at home. But the blame is on them. I tell them, why did you not take 3 months beforehand and learn how to cook? Ask your mom those questions. Spend time with your parents. It's a good way to bond, and it's a good way to learn and bring that knowledge.
That's a very nice message. I mean, 3 months prior, just prepare yourself for it.
Prepare yourself. Write down those recipes. And I know a lot of people do it, but writing down doesn't work. Cook.
They do.
Pay attention to what your mom does. Or your dad does. The next thing is, this is a little silly, but I know in Mumbai we have humidity and we're used to fans, and we love sleeping under a fan, and hearing that noise, and it actually puts us to sleep weirdly.
Yeah, obviously, yeah.
We don't have
Oh my
ceiling
God,
fans.
there's no fan.
Yeah,
I can't
there's
even think about
ceiling fans. And it was that was one
So
of
this
the
is the case
biggest
everywhere.
adjustments.
There's no fan.
I mean, you might in a home, like a
Uh-huh.
home, like an American home maybe, but most of the apartments or condos that you rent out do not have ceiling fans. Um,
Oh.
and
So I have to
kind
get
of
used to it. Yeah.
you have to get used to that. You might not be able to go to sleep because you're probably used to it for 20, 30 years of your life.
Yeah.
You're listening to the hum of a fan, suddenly it's not there. So I have a little like floor fan that I use, and it buzzes at night and it kind of
Yeah.
like
Some
helps me.
buzzing.
We need that disturbance, especially if
Correct.
you're coming from like a big Indian city. You're used to like the noises outside, and it's like really nice and quiet and quaint, especially if you're in suburbia or like around universities, because they're like usually quieter and they're like in the interiors, even if it's in a city. So yeah,
That's
so fans are
nice.
one thing. Uh, the other thing is definitely understanding and educating yourself about the socio-political situations
Right.
in the region that you're moving to. Just read up a little about it,
Hmm.
watch the news, expose yourself to movies and TV shows, um, and documentaries so that you just know better what you're heading into.
Hmm.
Because when you meet people at the mall or at the university, you'll
Hmm.
not just see Indians, you'll make other friends, and you don't
Right.
want to have a
So there are
tongue-in-cheek
different
comment.
cultures, right? So there are a
Yeah,
variety of cultures that you're going to.
definitely, and you want to be a global citizen. You don't want to be
You want to
super
fit in, like you want to fit in so that you can
definitely.
blend with each culture. Yeah. But I think Indians do a good job, don't you think? Like they kind of blend in or.
Yes, Indians will do a good job. Indian students do a good job, but I've sometimes seen certain you know behaviors that are pretty universal, at least amongst the Indian
Hmm.
community. Indian students that come from India, is and I understand why that happens. They prefer sticking to themselves. They
Uh-huh.
love like being in a group because they feel comfortable. You're
Yeah.
in a foreign country, and they'll like to be together, do things together. But I say try to get out of that habit. i
Good.
say
Yeah.
i say step out,
You,
get out of
yeah,
your
step
comfort
out
zone.
and mix with the others also. Yeah.
Absolutely. Like,
Correct.
be super global, expose yourselves, be in embarrassing situations. That's how
Mm.
you'll learn best. Um, and that's why it's necessary to read up about the world and about America, just so you don't embarrass yourself and say the wrong thing when you're with different people.
Yeah.
If you're amongst Indians, sab chalta hai. But if
Hmm.
you are amongst other people, you want to be careful, respectful,
Yeah.
aware. You don't want to come across as ignorant. So just I would definitely advise read up the news, especially international news, and read books, watch TV shows. Start with Friends if you've not watched an English TV show. Like, it's super American. It's a sitcom. Do it. It's an amazing show. I love it. But yeah.
Yeah.
So there's that. It could be an endless list, and as things come to mind, I might share those too.
Yeah. But then you've given us a picture of it. Like,
Definitely. I hope I was able to answer your question around lifestyle.
yes, that's nice. So, Kevin, when students come to the US, like for their
Hmm.
masters,
Hmm.
is it just about the studies that they should be bothered about?
That is actually so far removed from what your experiences will be. As a student, as an international student whose parents have taken mortgage their house to
Right.
get a loan to fund my studies, I should be studying. I should be focusing on getting good grades. I should be focusing on getting the college experience that I need and deserve to get a job of my choice, and repay myself, repay my hard work, and repay my parents.
Right.
But that doesn't happen. As an Indian student or as an international student, like, especially when you go to a different country, and right now in the United States, you have to worry about politics. You have to worry about, getting a part-time job. You have to worry about graduating, financing, selecting your courses, and cooking and eating. And, there's just so much adulting involved. And I know that life as you grow older, life gets tougher and you have to deal with it because you're a grown up. But it is an unfair, burden on international students at times, because they have to worry about these things that could have been solved, by people in power, but they
Yeah.
choose not to, and it just becomes tougher and
It
tougher
could have
as
made it
days go
slightly
by.
easy for them because they're spending so much of, so much money
Abs-
at back home, and
And
there's
if,
so many expectations to
yeah,
fulfill. So,
definitely. So if I could just put it into perspective, international students are allowed, I don't know if it's for every country, I don't know the nitty gritties of that, but at least for Indian students, you can work 20 hours a week as a part-time student on campus only. So you're already restricted by the on-campus jobs because you just have limited number of jobs on campus that everybody is applying to. And then you're only allowed to do 20 hours a week. And you're probably making minimum wage, which is $9 to $12 an hour, somewhere between that, depending on which state and which part of the state you're at. That is very little money. Now that money is what funds your rent, it funds your food, it funds your, other, your needs and wants and purchases and groceries. And if you're trying to have fun and, trying to entertain yourself, going to the movies, that is your petty cash. Because your parents can't afford to send you that kind of money, especially if you're
right.
coming from
And
a
I'm
middle
sure they
class.
don't tell. I don't think many of them must be, saying these things back home also, like what's happening.
I'm pretty sure they don't. They keep it to themselves because, I don't want to stress my parents out
Right,
by
right.
telling them about my stresses because they're already stressed out. The Indian family is such a tight knit community that when a member leaves and goes abroad, that is a stress on the family.
They're definitely not telling their
And
parents all this. Yeah, yeah.
we don't. We know the hardships our parents have taken to send us here, and we are not going to burden them with
Right.
that. But we just hope for a little more simplicity. We are not expecting all the troubles to go away. But as an Indian student, you have to be, as an international student rather, you just have to be ready to face these challenges. And I really wish that counselors stressed more on this too, that, it is going to be very, very difficult at times, especially the socio-political scene, especially in the United States. There are other countries too that you could consider going to if you feel that there are certain things that you just can't handle or
Correct,
don't
correct.
want to be involved in. Especially, with whatever is going on right now politically, I cannot align myself to any political situation for fear of being kicked out of this country.
Mhm.
And it is very necessary to consider those aspects too, because you don't want to come across as a radical in any way, shape, or form, especially in a foreign country.
That's a
You
very strong point there. Yeah. That's a lot to consider for the students, right? That's
absolutely.
a good
So
one. Thank you, Kev.
have to. It's a beautiful experience. I'm not trying to like dumb it down for
Yeah,
anyone.
yeah. I mean, it's an experience in its own way, right? Even
And
here,
you
you have so many issues. It's not that it's going to be a cakewalk. It's going to be difficult everywhere. As you
absolutely.
grow, you have to get stronger with time.
Absolutely, and you will have to deal with this, and it's a beautiful thing to go through. It's a beautiful hardship, and it'll all be worth it.
Yeah,
But just be ready for it. Don't
it'll all be
expect
worth it.
to,
Yeah, that's
just sit all day and study. That's not going to happen. You'll have 10 things to handle.
but that's how you mold yourself to the
That's how
personality
you
you
mold
will become.
yourself. And
Yes.
American kids do have an advantage on that because in India, we do not have the culture of having a part-time job when we are students because the parents are like, "Padhai karo," like study,
Yeah,
study, study, and they take care of everything.
we'll handle it. You just do the study part because it's all
Exactly.
about the numbers. Hmm.
It's all about the numbers. It's all about the grades in an Indian household.
Correct.
Um, and that's our disadvantage at times because American kids, they start working around 15, 16 when they're
Right,
in
right.
ninth or 10th grade. And they know how to deal with money, finances, taxes, and all that kind of stuff. So just be ready for those hurdles to come your way. You'll succeed, but just be determined to.
That's nice. So, Kevin, we are just concluding today's session. So,
Mhm.
I just want to know that if students have questions to ask you, so we can then conduct another session with you, as
Definitely.
you are actually answering some really, really good, questions out there, which always students don't get the right answers.
Yeah.
So how can they get in touch with you, Kevin?
I definitely follow your channel too on YouTube. So I would say ask me if you have any questions in the comment box on your channel. They can also reach out to me on my Instagram. That's the only social media I have. So uh, I'll I'll ask you to put my Instagram handle in the description of the video, and they can reach out to
Okay,
me through
I'll do
that.
that. Yeah.
Yeah,
So they can get in touch with you and they can ask the questions so that we can
definitely.
have one more session with you. Is that okay with you?
I'm always excited. I'm always ready for that. Um, Clearly, I love talking too. So
Yeah. And you're very
anything that you
clear and you're very focused and you've answered so precisely. So
thank you.
thank you so
I hope I
much.
was able to help. And one thing to always keep in mind is these are my opinions. These are my experiences, and they
Correct.
may not
Yeah.
be the same for every Indian student or for every
Right.
international student.
Yeah.
It's a personal journey that everyone makes. So yeah,
That's a nice one, Kevin. Thank you so much for
yeah.
joining
Thank
us.
you so
Yeah.
much.
Thank
Thanks for
you.
reaching out. Take
Bye bye.
care.
Take care.